it's Marissa Lachlan from Joanne's Place here, and you're listening to the Wellness on Purpose podcast. There is no linear path along one's wellness journey, and it is very easy to get caught up in the latest health trends found on social media, which tend to redirect our wellness journeys. Things like, what's the difference between clean and dirty eating? How should I reduce my stress? How do I know if I'm regular? How much sleep should I be getting? What even is cortisol? And do I need to be taking a multivitamin? There is so much information being released in the wellness industry on and offline, and it can be very challenging to not jump on every bandwagon we read about. Here at the Wellness on Purpose podcast, our intention is to connect with experts in our community to inspire and educate you to take the next impactful and realistic step in your journey to live wellness on purpose now and for future generations. Hey guys, welcome back to episode 9 of the Wellness on Purpose podcast. Today I'm interviewing Jess Dalliday, who is a certified athletic therapist, kinesiologist, Pilates instructor, and certified postnatal fitness specialist. Jess has an online business called Pilates on Demand, where you can practice Pilates out of the comfort of your own home. She also runs a blog called The Healthy Sweet Potato, where she shares plant-based recipes, her personal journey, and her family. During this episode, we're going to talk about how she had to overcome her eating and exercise disorder in order to get pregnant, and how her views on exercising, eating, and overall body images has changed since. Hi, Jess. Thanks for coming on the podcast today. So we're going to kind of just start by talking about your wellness background, like what you do, what you offer, and where your journey really started for you.
All right. Thank you so much, Marissa, for having me on the podcast. I'm honored to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm a certified athletic therapist. I did a master's degree in kinesiology and health science, and also kinesiologist. And then from there, I pursued Pilates. So I'm a Pilates instructor. And then just last year, I got certified as a postnatal fitness instructor. So my background is just all about the body, the human body. I've sort of have kind of been obsessed with how the body works since I was younger. And so my career is definitely in just making sure that people move their bodies properly, and how can I guess, try to get them to move more efficiently and without injury, and just, enjoy their life in their body, I guess.
Awesome. Did you, so you mentioned that you've always loved how the body worked. Did you know as soon as you were a kid that you wanted to do something in the fitness industry, or was there another option for you?
Yeah, I think I always did deep down. I remember watching a lot of those workout videos on television, the terrible ones on cable TV, and wanting a set of weights when I was younger so that I could follow along on the television. And then even in high school, I would go to our they called it the weight room. It was like a tiny gym from where I'm from, and I've always just loved exercising, moving my body. And then biology, I remember really liking that in high school, but I loved the part about the human body. And then I ended up taking science when I was in university and moved into kinesiology in my second year, because I realized that that's where I really want to be. So
Awesome. So, it's, you talk about this on your social media, and it's a no-brainer for people. We know that the health and wellness industry is amazing. It's where people heal. It's where people make really great, impactful steps on their journey. But we also know that there can be this road of, I don't want to say danger, but in the sense of some people become very controlling over their habits and their routine. So could you maybe talk a little bit about that, and if you have any history with where your fitness has led for you in that journey?
yeah, for sure. I think that is exactly where I'm coming from. Is I got obsessed with kind of controlling the look of my body through exercise, and I think a lot of it did stem from the education that I received in school, and just knowing my personality type. I'm an achiever and kind of a perfectionist and always want to get really good grades. So learning these things in school, I learned about, okay, this is how much we should be exercising each day to be as healthy as possible. This is the types of foods you should be eating. These are the amount of calories that one should get. And I really just followed that to a T, to the point where I couldn't exercise enough or be more perfect with my diet. Like, I just, every day it would be, how can I eat healthier? How can I fit more superfoods, quote unquote, into my diet, to be the healthiest version of myself? And it did become obsessive, because it felt like, okay, when I could achieve these things, or if I could be as healthy as possible, then I think I tied it to my self-worth, and then people would believe in me more. I'd be more successful if I could just get to this weight, or exercise this many, or get this many steps a day, or eat this way. Then yeah, I would finally have made it. Or I don't know, I guess been taken more seriously, or something like that. It was definitely hugely mental. Like, it was a big mental piece for me. And I think controlling the way my body looked and what I put into it was just one aspect of my life where I think I felt out of control in other areas. And that's sort of what I channeled it to, and could feel a bit more in control. And I think that's pretty universal for a lot of eating disorders, where it's all about the control. And when you feel kind of out of control somewhere else in your life, you usually try to channel it into something that you can. So yeah, it can be kind of a bad spiral that way.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been saying to a couple of people actually in the last couple of weeks is it's really challenging. It's very rewarding being in the wellness industry, but it's also very challenging when you know so much information, because
Mhm.
sometimes you're your worst critic always, but when you know so much and how things should be in this cookie cutter box, it becomes incredibly easy to get over that controlling factor of like what's wrong and what's right. And
Yes.
it's overwhelming and obsessive, right?
Yeah, it can totally become that way. Like, the term like orthorexia, that is definitely exactly what I was going through, because I wasn't necessarily in any other class of eating disorder. I was just trying to be, how could I be more and more healthy, because I had that information and I understood it. And then it got to be obsessive, to the point where, like, some potato chips, and think, I know that this is not the healthiest thing, but I have to let that go. Like, it is crazy what knowledge can do. It's powerful, but it's also, yeah, it can be detrimental at the same time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So when do you think was kind of your breaking point for you to realize that you were on this obsessive compulsive track of your health and fitness?
It wasn't until I tried to start getting pregnant. So I never thought I had an issue, because, I was eating enough calories a day. I was still, like, I was exercising. Obviously, now looking back, I was exercising too much. But for today's standards, like, I was living in Toronto, and a lot of people were exercising as much as me, or if not more. So I felt like what I was doing was normal. So when I tried to get pregnant, I went off birth control and 4 months before I went and saw my doctor, I still hadn't had a period. So I was doing some research online, trying to figure out why I wouldn't be getting a period. And a lot of things pointed to PCOS, but I didn't quite fit the mold for that, because the only thing I had was the loss of a period. I didn't have any other signs or symptoms of PCOS, but there was this other condition called hypothalamic amenorrhea, where I read over, and I was like, textbook case of it. And that's when I finally reached out to my doctor. I'm like, I think I need to get some lab work done and get some investigations done. And then that's when I was diagnosed with HA, after seeing a fertility specialist. So that's when I really had to, I guess, confront it head on and face the lifestyle changes I had to make, which were not easy at all to do. Like, it was so hard to try to undo. It's almost, because when you're in that mindset, you're thinking, like, I worked so hard to get this body to be this healthy, and then to have to just undo it all, essentially. That was hard to wrap my head around. To kind of give in to that and say, okay, I need to gain weight in order to get pregnant. And it was to me, it was like I have to undo years and years of hard work. But really, in the long run, like I was putting my body under way too much stress in those years, and what I needed was rest. And that's exactly what I needed to get pregnant. So I can chat more about that if you want, depending on what direction you want to go in here.
Yeah, I mean, that would kind of be where I would lead to next was,
Yeah.
what were those biggest steps that you had to make in order to get to where you wanted to be and to get pregnant? Or like, who was it that you had to use for support to get you to that point as well?
Yeah. So big steps were eating more and letting myself eat carbs, which like I was so like ingrained in my head that I had to stay away from all carbohydrates and they were the devil. So adding those back in and adding more fats into my diet, like a lot of fats I had to add in, um, and just eating without guilt. So I have to say that was the easier step of the two, because it's obviously easy to eat. And you would think it would be easy to not exercise either, but I definitely had an addiction to the exercise, more so than the healthy eating, because I found that the hardest. It took me a year to finally stop all exercise. Like I slowly tapered off my high intensity workouts to just doing strength training and some cycling, to finally just cutting back to only walking, doing light yoga, like 20 minutes, nothing to get my heart rate up. And then the Pilates I was doing was mostly just prepping for my classes to teach. Like it wasn't nothing longer than 30 minutes for any of my exercise. So those were the big steps that I had to do. And gaining weight obviously came with that because I cut my exercise and increased my calories. So just science, you will gain weight, and just being okay with that. Another step was throwing out all of my clothes that didn't fit me anymore, and finally just buying new clothes. And that was actually quite liberating. Like I was at a point where I was more at peace with my body, and I felt good about getting rid of those clothes because I realized that like in order to be healthy, I shouldn't be the size that I was before. Like that was obviously not healthy for me. So trying to embrace my new body and actually having clothes that fit it, because there's nothing worse than trying to fit it into clothes that are too small to really kill your self-esteem. So getting rid of those and then just finding things that flatter you and dressing how you want, but in clothes that actually fit is nice. So those were all big steps. And I had a lot of help along the way, like mostly from my husband, who was very supportive the whole time. Like he honestly never noticed any of the weight gain at all. And really, he's never been one too much for appearances. I don't think guys really see like difference of like 20 or 30 pounds anyway. I think we see that more than they do. And um, who else? Oh, yeah. And then I had a lot of online forums that helped me. Like I was on Facebook groups for hypothalamic amenorrhea. And then I read a book called No Period, Now What? Which I highly recommend for anyone that is going through this right now, because it was like my Bible. It just went through everything that you had to do and all the science behind it. So for me, I have to learn, or I have to know exactly what's going on in order to kind of give into it, to really commit 100%. So it was really helpful to explain that to me. So I had those supports in place. And then of course I opened up to friends, family, and honestly, writing it on my blog was probably the best thing I ever did, because when you're gaining weight and expressing that to people so that they understand what you're going through, so that they don't make a comment about your weight gain too, because that can be very hurtful. So I think opening up and saying like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. And then I had more support than I could have ever imagined from going through that process. And that made it a lot easier too.
Yeah, and I think I've been actually talking to a lot of people about that lately, and how, when you make a comment about somebody's weight, like it should no longer be something that you do. Like it should no
Hmm.
longer be that you address a comment, whether it's weight loss or weight gain, because there's so much more that's behind that, like health. And, it could be anything like disordered eating. It could be stress. It could be hormones. So many things play a factor, and especially in women's health. And it's something that I know sometimes I will catch myself or hear in a conversation with people about weight gain or weight loss. And it's like, we need to dial back on how we present ourselves to check in with people and it not be about their weight, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I especially noticed that when I was pregnant, that people would comment on my size, and I, yeah, was really taken aback by that because everybody's different in pregnancy too. Like the way that they carry the weight, where the weight goes, it's so different for everyone. And for people to comment like, "Oh, you're so big" or "You're so small," like neither of those are good comments. And I don't know why. For some reason, once a woman gets pregnant, it's like a free for all for everyone to comment on your size. And I found it, yeah, it was like it actually triggered me to going back to those old ways of thinking like, oh, I'm too big for how far along I am. So now I need to exercise more and restrict my calories. And I honestly like went through that for a couple of weeks because I didn't like, I was just, yeah, feeling like I was too big for the number of weeks I was along. And yeah, after a while, I figured out like that wasn't actually true. But and it's everybody's different. Like it's yeah, they're going to carry the weight differently, and yeah, and I think it just goes for any stage of life, whether you're pregnant or not. Like we shouldn't be commenting on each other's weight, like you said. You
Yeah.
don't know what they're going through.
And it's so easy to fall back into those old habits of thinking, right? It's
Hmm.
can happen so quickly. It can be a single trigger, it can be something that you see on social media or you hear. It doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't. It's very easy to be triggered. So yeah, try to surround yourself with as many supportive people as you can and eliminating those feeds on social media that do trigger you. That was huge for me. It's just getting a lot of that messaging out of my life, like right out of my face, so that I could focus more on, okay, what's good for my body and following those people that had a different view on body image.
So, when you were diagnosed and you realized that you had to make these changes in order to start to become pregnant, how long was it before you started to get your period again?
It took a full year. I would want to say, yeah, yeah, it was about a year, I would say. But I think that's partly because I continued exercising. So I just couldn't give up the exercise. I think if I would have given that up sooner, I probably would have got my period sooner and like went all in with no exercise, eating a lot, decreasing my stress where I needed to, and just eliminating the guilt as well. That was a big part of it. I think so. Yeah, I think I needed to give up the exercise. It was just too much stress on my body. And I tend to stress about little things. Like I'm a bit anxious, more anxious, maybe. Well, I don't know. Now I feel like a lot of people are anxious. So
Yeah.
everyone I talk to feels anxious. So I don't think I'm alone in that. But exercise is scientifically another stress. So even though it can be good stress, it's not good stress when you're already overly stressed. It's just going to add to that. So I needed to take that away. And then finally, my body was like, okay, it's all right to have a baby now. Like I'm able to reproduce because when you're under too much stress, your body, like the first thing it shuts down is your reproductive system. So yeah, I just needed time to let my body do its thing and let it feel safe.
Yeah, for sure. And along this journey of yours over the last couple years, would you say that there was one or two really tried and true products or things that really helped you along your journey to get your health back?
In terms of products, I did drink red raspberry tea a lot. I'm not sure if it did anything, but I think mentally it helped me a lot. Yeah, I think that because I knew it can kind of help you build up the lining of your uterus. And for me, mentally, that just, it was something that I could do to help. I was doing way too much, like taking tons of supplements and seeing an acupuncturist. And oh, I was putting like castor oil packs on my belly, rubbing essential oils on my lower, like lower abdomen as well. I think I tried everything in the book. And honestly, I don't know if there's actually a product that works better than just, oh God, just like letting go and letting your body relax and just, yeah, stop. In order to get pregnant, I had to stop taking the focus off getting pregnant. Like, and I know that's impossible to do. Like, I found that really hard, but I finally had to say, like, okay, I just need to focus on the good things in my life right now and stop trying so hard. And I know as I'm saying this, people that are listening to this podcast right now that are trying to get pregnant are like, oh, sure, just stop trying and then it'll work. But really, that is what I had to do. Like, it's way easier said than done. I don't know how I did it now, but I did just try to focus on the positives in my life and tried to just start living my life again, because infertility can be like very overwhelming and takes over your every thought. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually really liked the red raspberry tea. So I just drank it because I liked it. And,
Yeah, it's definitely a good one for like hormones and like PMS symptoms. And especially if you are pregnant, it helps bring baby along too, which is good.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I think you're right. With the stress piece, I think people really underestimate the power of stress and the power of doing too much. And I like that you said that, you did take a bunch of supplements, you did a bunch of things, but really like what you had to do was just let go because,
Mhm.
even though you have all of these things in line and doing them, whether it's exercising, whether it's doing things for work, whether it's taking supplements, they are all added stress, right? And if you're over consuming yourself, it's going to put such a tax on the body, like on anything, your adrenals, your hormones, your reproductive system.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I had to I had to take things away is what had to happen. Like, I was of the mindset before that the more I added, the better chance I would have to get pregnant. But it was really, what could I take away from my life that would help me get pregnant, that would take away the stress? And yeah, it had to be taking away the restrictive eating, taking away the exercise component, taking away some of the mental stress, because I did start an antidepressant as well when I was trying to conceive. And I was taking away all of the supplements and the acupuncture appointments, and just had to let go a lot more than I thought, and then let go some more.
Yeah. Good. There's always room for improvement on that because it's so
Mhm.
easy to get tied up in all those things, right?
Yes. Oh my God. The information on the internet is,
Yeah.
yeah, all consuming. So,
Yes, very consuming. So I know that you're a shopper at Joanne's Place. We see you in there often. You talk about a lot of products that you get from us, but what would you say is your favorite go-to product at Joanne's Place that you really rely on, whether it's food or supplement, just to bring yourself back to good health?
so I really like the Yoso brand coconut yogurt. It's the only dairy-free yogurt that I actually really like that tastes like yogurt. um, and I like the coconut kind of flavor that it has. So I love that because I'm not a huge dairy eater. I mostly eat plant-based, so I really like to have yogurt still, and I just love that product. So it's satisfying, and you can use it in so many different recipes too. Like, it's great for in your smoothies. I put it in my oatmeal because it has the probiotics too, so I love that. You can bake with it. Yeah, it's just nice to have around in the house. So shout out to Yoso.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great product, and you are just the queen at smoothie bowls and oat bowls. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, last question for you is just if you were stuck in an elevator for 20 flights with somebody, what is one piece of information that you would give that you think would be really impactful for someone's life?
I definitely think that you need to let go of trying to live your life for other people and just trying to impress other people, and really just start living for yourself, because you only have this one life. And if you're living it for somebody else, then you're not going to be happy. And true happiness comes from just being true to yourself and living for yourself and being as present as you can in the moment, and just, yeah, enjoying those moments and being grateful for them. So I know it's much easier said than done, but like, really, the root of my eating and exercise disorder was from trying to impress other people and trying to fit society's mold of what they expected me to be, I guess. And I wasn't happy. I was always just chasing more and more and more. And finally, when I said, okay, I'm happy with myself the way I am, that's when I finally started being happy. And like I actually like my body now, and I am 20 to 30 pounds heavier than I was before then. And I was miserable then. I thought I was too big. And I'm like, look back at myself. I'm like, you were crazy. So it really just goes to show you that, yeah, you have to be happy with yourself in order to just be happy. Yeah. And I don't know. I think happiness is definitely the true meaning of wellness. So
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I really wish that sometimes you could just bottle it up for those days that you really, really need it as an
yes.
extra boost. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Jess. I'm going to tag all of Jess's handles in our show notes so you can follow along, get some good food inspiration, follow along on her Pilates on Demand, see her cute daughter and dog and family, and all the goods from today's episode. So thanks again, Jess, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in for episode number 9 of the Wellness on Purpose podcast. I hope you're feeling just as inspired as I am after listening to that interview with Jess about her wellness journey, overcoming her eating and exercising disorder to get pregnant, and how she now currently views herself as her body image, how she exercises, and how she eats. What's also awesome is she's now helping others become the healthiest version of themselves. So go give her a follow on social media and then go try out Pilates on Demand. As always, please like, review, subscribe, leave us a comment, share on social media that you're listening to the Wellness on Purpose podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.